Hello and welcome to Codacy's product showcase, October 2024. This is going to review the last 3 months, last quarter of activity at Codacy, show you what we've been up to, and hopefully there is some exciting stuff here. Spoilers. um, so let us begin. Hi, I'm your host, Kendra Curtis, VP of Technology for Codacy, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. Platform performance, segmentation of data, and then Alejandro, who's here with us, is going to be talking to you about multiple coding standards. I'll cover STA enhancements, and there'll be some time for Q&A at the end. Please do ask questions as you go along. If you're new to Zoom, there is a Q&A button on your bar at the bottom. You can choose that and ask questions, and then we'll tick them off as we answer. Please ask them as we go along. That's fine. Either myself or Ale will answer them, whoever is not speaking, or we can get to them at the end if we need a spoken response. So, a little reminder of what Codacy does. We are here to make every line of code trustworthy. That means not just high quality, not just secure, not just covered with unit tests, but all of these things, and probably more than these things altogether. And we do that by trying to be the only toolbox developers ever need to merge clean, quality, and secure code. This is I love this graphic. I show this graphic whenever I can. I love this Snap-on Tools case with a laptop on top and all of our logos down. I think it's such a good metaphor for what we do because we exist in the quality space and the security space both, which brings us certain advantages. All right, so I always talk to you about performance, and this is the first time since July of last year when there is not unequivocal improvements across the board to talk about. So this quarter we focused a lot on cost because we run your static code analysis for you so that you don't have to, which apparently impacts our AWS bill. So we've been spending a chunk of Q3 on actually working on cost. That has had impact on performance as well, though, because using less EC2 means that we are spinning up less pods, which means we're able to process more things simultaneously, which means that everybody gets what they want faster. That said, the impact we've seen across Q3 has largely been in the above 98% zone. That is the biggest and trickiest repositories for us to work on, with a little bit of regression between 90 and 97. We are still completing 95% of analyses or more within 10 minutes. And for most people, then it's within the 3-minute scale because you're looking at actually right down at that 50% line. We continue to invest on this. Let's talk about some product features. So something I'm very excited to bring us, which I've been wanting for a long time in Codacy, is what we call segmenting information. So this is the ability to group repositories together. So right now with Codacy, you can talk about your entire organization, or you can talk about an individual repository, but really nothing in between until now. So now we are starting to bring you the ability to segment data in GitHub using custom properties to get groups of repositories to talk about. What does that look like? Let's have a look. So here is one of our test organizations, Codacy Acme, looking at the repo list view, as many of you do, I'm sure. Now we can just search for a single repository here using the filter. That's always been there, but new is the ability to filter by segments. So we can filter by team, we can filter by this in production flag. We can apply that filter. Here we are. We have a narrowed down list of repositories. The larger your organization is, the more relevant this is, because if you have thousands of repositories, actually being able to define some filters that gives you just the project you care about right here is super useful. How do you get this? We don't want you to be managing lists of repositories within Codacy itself and then having separate things going on elsewhere. So this is really happening within GitHub itself. So here is that sample JavaScript project. That was one of the ones we saw on the list before. We're looking at it in GitHub. We've come to settings within GitHub, and we're looking at custom properties. And we've defined 2 custom properties here in production and team. And you can see that this one is a Boolean, and this one is just a text box. And and those map onto exactly what you see here in production team. And we can choose whichever ones we like of those. We can apply, we can clear them off and get them all again. Now, right now, this exists purely in the repositories list, but we are actively working to bring this to the security and risk management dashboard, what we call SRM. And then over the next quarters, that will also be appearing within the new organizational metrics page that's going to replace our existing organizational dashboard. And then at a stretch, we'll be looking at introducing those segments into coding standards as well. Right now, this is just for GitHub, but again, we're actively working on bringing this to you for Bitbucket as well. So that is that. Let's get back to presentation. Ali, do you want to take over from here? So allow me to introduce, stop sharing, allow me to introduce Alejandro, our engineering manager and product engineer, who's going to talk you through exciting things going on in configuration and coverage land. Again, these are to do with multiple coding standards is a super exciting big step forward, and I'll let him tell you all about them. Over to you, Ale.
Thank you, Kenrick. Yes, the big star of the show, multiple coding standards, but let's also see some of the other features that we've been introducing, probably seeing the changes you haven't seen in the product. First of all, a quick one is we have a new coverage page. We used to have different sections of quality and coverage in the product. We wanted to simplify this interaction with the coverage information. So this is a really new simplified new coverage dashboard. It has the most important insights and recommendations to improve coverage on each repository. It shows a summary of the coverage metrics, the coverage status of all open pull requests. And the most exciting change here is that it lists files with either issues or high complexity that also happen to have low coverage. So it's really good for developers to actually decide what to fix next or what can actually bring an impact for improvement of quality in the repository. You will also see a new thing that we introduced, that is the code patterns discovery. Before actually discovering new patterns was never like a really easy thing to do because we always had navigation through the tool first. So now actually discovering patterns by topics is easier than ever. We don't need to start by the tool. We have this section, and this is a meta search tool that looks for patterns in all tools at the same time. And you can apply filters. It's really good if you actually want to be looking for patterns to enable about a specific topic or thing to control. Last but not least, all of the enhancements and improvements that we've been bringing to coding standards in the last months. Because you can now apply multiple coding standards to a single repository. And there's the option for developers to add additional rules for further customization at the repository level on top of those multiple coding standards. Important thing, how does this work, right? When applying multiple coding standards to a single repository, all patterns required by any of the selected coding standards will be analyzed, will be enforced. So developers now have the option to enable additional patterns also that aren't mandated by any of those chosen standards. This basically should help teams streamline the process of enforcing organization-wide compliance and allowing developers at repository level to further customize their individual repositories with the things they want to do. Quick explanation here of things that you can actually do with this now, because before it was a single source of truth and organizations could make a coding standard that applied like an entire thing to all repositories. But now large organizations or medium-sized organizations can have this different strategy on how to build different coding standards and can have a coding standard that is a baseline for repositories, can have a coding standard by topic like security or by architecture like front and back end. They can have coding standards by language or framework, and even organizations can have standards by team with preferences of what they want to control in specific. And all of this can work together, right? Like, for example, a company can have just a baseline security and then front and back end and apply things, um, just with this. Or another company may say, hey, I just want to have a baseline, but then each specific senior developer, depending on their expertise, they will have a coding standard depending on language or framework. Or probably you just want to have a baseline and then let squads and teams decide what they want to do. Or I can have everything at the same time and have coding standards for all of these things and then apply them one on top of the other, right? So, for example, I can have my web service engine repository that has baseline security, backend, and Java. I can have my public API that has baseline security, backend, Java, and the API squad also has their own rules, so we also apply it on top. And the same can happen for a web application following baseline security, front-end React, and the web application squad. And if the API squad, for example, or the developer there is like, hey, I don't have permissions to go and edit standards, but I want to control some things that are not yet there, I can define extra code patterns on top at the repository level. This is basically it. Let's show a bit of these things in the product. Where are they? Coding standards are in the same place. Now you'll see that there are like some small changes. Before we used to have this make default, but now it's applied to new repositories because we can apply multiple to new repositories. So we guarantee that every time the new repository is added to Codacy, will be following and complying with, for example, my default rules and my security rules. And at the repository level, also now, before, if the repository was following the coding standard, everything would be disabled and there was nothing there to do for developers, right, to customize things. But now you can see at the repository level that I'm following two different coding standards. I can customize here and remove some or adding other standards. And now I only can't change the things that are already enforced by the coding standard, right? Actually, here it even tells me like which standard is actually requiring this tool or this pattern, right? So I can, if I need to make a change, I know where to go for this change. And if I want to enable new patterns, I can do it directly from here. Since we're here, we can also check the discover patterns that you can find it here at the repository level, and users can look for things like cookies. We have some suggestions here. You will see that it does a meta search everywhere, and we can look for these things in all tools at the same time, Codacy Scala Meta Pro, SendGraph, ESLint, and we can even filter. For example, I want to filter and only check the patterns that are disabled around cookies, right? And I can get this, or I can say, hey, give me all the security that are about cookies, and then I can check this to enable these things, or even just the recommended. So now I have patterns here in different tools that I can enable and probably improve what I'm controlling in my repo, right? So this simplifies quite a lot looking for patterns without depending on which tool, right? It's like quite quick and fast to do this regarding a specific topic. What else do we have to show around here? Also, you'll see that with multiple coding standards, we apply introduce new changes. Now on the issues, you can also see not only the pattern, but also if it was applied from which coding standard is requiring this. If not, it will also tell you that it's not, and it's at the repository level, or if it comes from a configuration file. So it's easier now set up all of these things. And with the last minute that I have also, I'm going to show you the coverage page with all of the metrics that we were talking before and the pull request under status. And here also we can see that we have files with issues and low coverage and complex files with low coverage. So I can quickly go into these pages and understand like, look, I have a really complex file that doesn't reach to the coverage goal. This one is almost 70, but this one perhaps probably you can go and check, okay, let's go and work on this code and improve the coverage of this file to, even if it's going to be a complex file, that sometimes this may happen, feel more comfortable that this is thoroughly tested and I'm not going to be introducing probably more problems and issues there. That's it. I'm going to go back to you, Kendrick, now. You need to unmute, Kendrick.
Thank you very much. I love it, Ali. I feel like the ability to establish baseline standards is so powerful now that you can actually have your security team owning your security standards without having to step on the toes of individual developers who are trying to improve the quality of the repositories they're working in. So for me, this is lovely stuff. So today I'm handling the security brief, talking to you about proactive SCA and severity granularity. These are two small topics with massive power, I think. And I don't usually use such hyperbole here, but here we go. So the first is a little reminder of what we're doing with security in Codacy this year. So we are trying to bring you the 7 pillars of security. So SCA, SAST, DAST, secrets, infrastructure as code, CSPM, and penetration testing. As of right now, then we have something in every single one of those columns apart from CSPM. Our DAST offering right now is just consuming results from your CI/CD executions of ZAP, but I'll talk about what we're doing about that later. So this quarter, we've been mostly consuming ourselves with SCA, that's software composition analysis, looking at third-party dependencies and the vulnerabilities within there. Now, we already ran SCA on your repositories for you when you did a commit to the appropriate package file, but that's not the full and best solution because vulnerabilities can be detected long after you've made your change, and so we only would have picked up that vulnerability the next time you made a change to your package file. Well, for business customers, not anymore, because we run a whole separate process for our business tier customers where we simply rescan every repository every night for new vulnerabilities. So nightly, we are looking at all of our vulnerability databases that are fed into by our suppliers, and then going and scanning to see if any of those new vulnerabilities have been detected anywhere throughout your repos. And you don't need to do anything else to turn that on if you're already using Trivy. If you're not using Trivy, go and find that in your either in your coding standards or in your repository code pattern page. Go and turn Trivy on for dependencies, and we'll begin scanning not only on a per commit basis, but on a nightly basis to make sure that your repositories are checked for third-party dependency vulnerabilities constantly. So how do you find those results? Because obviously in a commit situation, then you'd see the results right there in your PR, and then your PR might be gated and rejected, blocked based on whether there are new vulnerabilities introduced. That will still happen if you make a change to the package file, but for things that are already extant now in your software, then those will appear in 2 different places. So one is in the SRM findings tab, as you can see here, from the screenshot, then we sort now on first detected. So the most recent stuff will appear there at the top. So if you keep an eye on that, you will see what's coming in. And then we also already had a Slack integration to push critical issues as they're detected into a particular Slack channel. You can configure that on your regular Slack integrations page, and you will now also get new critical CVEs broadcast that way as well. So there's no demo here. You can see all there is to see. We're not going to wait around till 4 o'clock in the morning till we actually execute this to show you a new one. But if you are a business customer, then you'll already see that popping up both in your SRM and in your Slack. And to complement that, to make life easier here, we did used to simply flag all, sorry, all vulnerabilities coming from Trivia's third-party dependencies as critical. But now we actually take in the assessment of the CV's score and actually filter that down into being a minor, a medium, or a critical. So that you've got more control over how many of those dependencies actually get registered into your critical path, which you then need to resolve. And of course, you can then turn the noise off by shutting off the minor or the mediums while you're still working on the critical ones. Which again is going to make it much easier to find the stuff that you want to and need to fix throughout your organization. So that is the criticality of SCA. So those two things now make Codacy a much, much stronger play in the SCA space. So hopefully you'll find those useful. And now a little bit about what's next. We've looked at what's going on right now. So in the future, what are we thinking about for the next quarters and directly? So in security land, then we know we need to complete the rest of our 7-pillar strategy. The final one is to run our own DAST pipeline for you so that you don't actually have to configure front-end scanners yourself. We want to do that. We want to run them for you so that we are plug and play. Come along, stick your web address in, off you go. And of course, those results will go into that same security and risk management dashboard, the same place as everything else. So all of your findings are in one place, so you can easily sort and filter and decide what the most important things you need to tackle are in one place. As a reminder, our penetration testing results go in there as well. Unlike pretty much anyone else working in this space, you can get your penetration test through us and manage your results through that as well. But also, it turns out that if you do a lot in the dependency space, you wind up having to deal with what they call SBOMs, software bill of materials. So the entire dependency trees, we've been consuming those for a while now in order to look for vulnerabilities. But I am pleased to tell you that we will be bringing a beautiful SBOM Explorer to you, which will allow you to look at your dependencies filtered again through those segments, but also for your whole organization as well as individual repositories in one place within the Codacy UI. That's in progress right now. And also, the other useful bit of information we can take out of those SBOMs is the license for that third-party code, because there is license risk, which is a bit adjacent to security risk, and a lot of security teams are mandated to look at license risk as well, and we can scoop up that information and also present you the licenses of all of the dependencies that you're utilizing and allow you to sort and filter on those, and if there is anything to be concerned about, then obviously you can remove or remediate that. Some of that will be gated to our business tier because we are putting security stuff for business. So if you're interested in upgrading, do speak to one of our sales team. We'll also be looking at performance, as we always do. We're looking at the change processing stage again. So we've optimized discovery very well. We can push and pull source code from your Git repo very easily now. But now we need to look at how we are actually doing the analysis. And we are starting to see things like, I mean, now that we've dealt with the bigger beasts, we can now look at the smaller problems like tool failures. So ESLint, for example, is one of the most common tools we have. Fails more than any of the others because we run it more than any of the others. So it's time for us to start digging into the reasons why and also to present to you better when your tools haven't actually run as you might expect. We'll be continuing to enhance our user experience. We have a lovely SPA website, which Alejandro has driven a lot of the development of, so thank you very much for that, which now allows us to iterate very quickly. So we'll be bringing more small things like the coverage page that you just saw and like the coverage diff that we brought last, I think the last one of these. But we will be largely focusing on two topics. One is metrics for organizations, that is bringing stuff like what you can see for security and risk management for all issues. So number of issues found, fixed, total open, and so on, so that you can really see Codacy working for you. So you can see the evolution of how much stuff you're getting through, and honestly to allow you to then go, okay, well, we've fixed everything now. Let's go and turn some more rules on and actually raise our code quality to the next degree above that. So that's what we're looking at in terms of metrics. And we will also, beyond that, look at repository metrics. So how many of your repositories are added to Codacy? How many of them have coverage gates? How many of them have quality gates? And so on, just so that you can see how much of Codacy you're using and what coverage you get of our features. The other topic for user experience is actionability hopefully of those SRM items and ideally of all items. We know with security, then there are things like false positives, there are unreachable vulnerabilities, there are ones where you're just going to accept the risk and say, you know what, we looked at it and we think it's fine, accept risk, get it off my dashboard. So we're going to bring tools for working with that and also for creating Jira tickets out of issues or out of findings, or out of sets of issues or sets of findings. We want to enable you to work on issues in bulk like that. And finally, in our enterprise domain, then we already do audit logging, but all of these new features that you see before you will require us to put in more audit log points, and there are more audit log points that our customers are requesting of us. And if there is something you're missing as a business customer, then do let us know, because adding more audit log points is not an enormous task for us. And then we'll continue to look at segmentation of data. Like I say, we are showing those segments in repository list. The near-term targets will be for that to go into SRM as well. And then those organizational metrics should also be segmentable because that's a new feature delivery. But beyond that, we're going to be looking at combining multiple Git provider organizations into one place as well, so that you can, we know a lot of our customers have either organizations across multiple different Git providers, or they use multiple organizations across their one GitHub Enterprise deployment through acquisition or whatever. And let's let you report on those all in one place. So that's the future for us. Now is the time for any questions if people haven't standing up until this point. So please do use your Q&A window or the chat even. The chat's also fine. And we can answer any questions that you have. I have to say, I can't see the Q&A window for some reason. So I suggest you prefer the chat. If you're not comfortable asking a question here, that's fine. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am in/Kendrick Curtis, very easy to find. Or reach out to me directly at kendrick@codacy.com. Just checking that we have no questions because I can't see the questions window.
There are no open questions.
All right, then one more little piece of housekeeping. What's next? Online and in person for us, then you can follow us on X as it is now and on LinkedIn. I will be doing a webinar in a few weeks on October the 22nd with TechStrong about creating a security culture because we're not only a product company looking at building security products. It turns out that we're also a company that has a development team that needs security applying to it as well. We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, and we intend to keep that. So I'll be speaking about that on TechStrong. You can register for that now. On the very, very off chance that you are watching this from Manchester, then I will also be at the Manchester Tech Festival because Codacy are sponsoring the Leadership Day there. So I'll be speaking on the cybersecurity track again on much the same topic of creating a security culture. So please do catch us on either of those events. And of course, there will be another product showcase in 3 months' time in January, and we look forward to inviting you for that. That's it. Thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate you spending time out of your day to come and hear what Codacy have been up to. Any feedback, like I say, do reach out, let me know. Otherwise, we'll say thank you and goodbye. Have a good day, have a good evening, and we'll be in touch.